With the recent announcement that Ahsoka will be in the second season of The Mandalorian, does it mean we'll be getting the Darksaber and white blades in the series? In The Mandalorian Season 1 finale, Moff Gideon survives the crash of his Outland TIE fighter, using a familiar lightsaber to cut his way out of the TIE's cockpit, revealing that the Imperial Remnant leader is in possession of the legendary Darksaber. We also now know that Rosario Dawson is set to play a live-action version of the former Jedi Padawan Ahsoka Tano in Season 2 of The Mandalorian. This has been all but confirmed with the episode entitled The Sorcerer, which seems to hint at her appearance. In this video, we will discuss the potential of seeing both the Darksaber and Ahsoka's so-called lightsabers, not just appearing in the show, but taking a more integral part of the overall story. But first, we will dive into the history of both types of lightsaber to gain a greater understanding of these unique weapons. Starting off with Ahsoka's pair of white-bladed lightsabers, they are comprised of a single-bladed lightsaber and a shorter lightsaber. As with the lightsabers of the Jedi Order, they are handcrafted, and both hilts are curved and have a rectangular profile, each using a purified kyber crystal. Ahsoka utilizes the dual-wielding method of lightsaber combat called Jarkai. Refined over time, they were first crafted using scrap metal in 18 BBY, 1 year after the end of the Clone Wars. Over time, they became more aesthetic looking and more efficient to use. The crystals were taken from the Imperial Inquisitor known as the Sixth Brother, whom Ahsoka defeated. Both blades give off a distinct lack of colour, the kyber crystals having been purified by Ahsoka from the bleeding process of the dark side, with the blades going from scarlet to pure white. According to Dave Filoni, the decision to make Ahsoka's lightsabers white was to show her non-affiliation with neither the Jedi nor the Sith. Ahsoka would use these lightsabers during the events depicted in the Rebel series, where she would use them in aiding the rebels of Phoenix Cell, battling the Inquisitors, and ultimately then dueling Maul and coming face to face with Darth Vader. With her escape from Malachor 5, the last time we see Ahsoka is on Lothal sometime after the Battle of Endor, around 5 years before the events of The Mandalorian. Reuniting with the Mandalorian and rebel Sabine Wren, about to depart on their journey to find the lost Jedi Padawan Ezra Bridger, who vanished into hyperspace years prior to ensure the defeat of Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Get away from there!
Is that a lightsaber?
Indeed. Yes, but not like any that you would know. If your Mandalorian friend was here, she could explain it to you.
The Darksaber, on the other hand, holds a far less righteous history. Created prior to 1019 BBY by the Mandalorian warrior Tara Vizsla, the first Mandalorian ever to be inducted into the Jedi Order. Again, this was handcrafted like other Jedi lightsabers, but it was unique in that he gave off a black blade, which was thin, flattened, and curved to a point, similar to the shape of the Beskar of old. The hilt was straight and rectangular, along with the guard. Despite the weapon's age, it was in extremely good condition. The blade also reacts with an electrical effect, subject to a wielder's heightened emotional state. The sound emitted was also higher pitched than other sabers, and was capable of parrying an opponent's lightsaber with an almost magnetic pull. With the apparent death of Tara Vizsla, the Darksaber was stored in the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. It would not remain here, however, as the temple was raided by warriors of House Vizsla during the fall of the Old Republic. In the possession of the Mandalorians, it became a symbol of power, leadership, and the rule of Mandalore for centuries. As Mandalorians had a deep respect for their weapons and warlike nature, this probably explains how the Darksaber remained in exceptional condition and functionality despite it being an antique. An heirloom of House Vizsla, it eventually passed down to Pre-Vizsla, the governor of Concordia and the secret leader of the Death Watch. It would see action in the Clone Wars, with Death Watch siding with Count Dooku to overthrow the pacifist rule of Duchess Satine Kryze, in the hope that the old Mandalore warrior way would be restored. With the souring of Death Watch's relationship to Dooku, Vizsla discovered the former Sith Lord Darth Maul and his brother Savage Opress. From here, they agreed an alliance with Maul's Shadow Collective. At the height of their power, the Shadow Collective would succeed in installing Death Watch as the ruling regime of Mandalore. Effectively, Pre-Vizsla became the Mandalore, or sole ruler, his legitimacy to rule cemented by the Darksaber. Maul in turn challenged Pre-Vizsla for leadership of Mandalore, appealing to the Mandalorians' rule of the strong. Maul, armed with a single-bladed saber, and Vizsla with the Darksaber, duelled, with Maul managing to defeat the Mandalore despite a hard fight. Vizsla accepted his defeat to Maul, and then was beheaded by his own blade, what was once a proud symbol of his clan. The former Sith wielded the Darksaber during his brief stint as the shadowy ruler of Mandalore. Maul managed to lure his old adversary Obi-Wan Kenobi to Mandalore, and would use the Darksaber to murder Duchess Satine. Maul could not savour his small victory for long, however, due to the arrival of his former Sith Master, Darth Sidious. Beaten, humiliated, and grieving for his fallen brother, Maul was imprisoned by the Sith, and the Darksaber was kept secure by Prime Minister Almec. Upon being freed, Maul retrieved the blade from his Mandalorian supercommando allies, and engaged in a shadowy war against the Sith, battling Sidious, Dooku, and General Grievous. Despite a few early victories, the Shadow Collective failed to defeat the Sith on Dathomir, and Maul retreated after the death of his most powerful ally, Mother Talzin. From then on, it seems Maul would be reluctant to wield the Darksaber, preferring to keep it stored as a trophy in the Night Sister lair on Dathomir. He would neglect to use the saber during the Siege of Mandalore and the ensuing execution of Order 66. As the Age of the Empire began, Maul would continue his underworld dealing in the form of Crimson Dawn. The Darksaber would see action when it was stolen by Sabine Wren and Ezra Bridger of Phoenix Cell, the latter whom Maul had hoped to turn to the dark side. Back in the hands of a Mandalorian, Sabine would learn about the blade's history and how to wield it from the former Jedi Padawan Kanan Jarrus. Sabine would attempt to use the saber to unite House Vizsla and hopefully Mandalore against the Empire, leading them to Crow's Nest, the homeworld of Clan Wren. There, she would engage in combat with the Emperor's Hand and puppet ruler of Mandalore, Viceroy Gar Saxon. Sabine defeated him and was now the rightful owner of the Darksaber. Staying behind with her family and Fen Rau, they would work to rally the Mandalorians and find the true leader of Mandalore. Taking the fight to the Empire, Sabine wielded the saber on various missions until she met Bo-Katan Kryze, the sister of the late Duchess Satine. Sabine offered her the blade, but she refused, seeing herself as unworthy of the mantle of ruler. Bo-Katan was finally persuaded to accept the blade following a successful raid to destroy a superweapon created by Sabine herself, which ironically was named the Duchess. Bo-Katan accepted it in memory of her sister, her clan, and for Mandalore. Many clans would show their willingness to follow Bo-Katan's lead, and it seemed a fractured people was once again united. Nearly 10 years would pass before we next see the Darksaber, the blade now in possession of Moff Gideon, ruler of an Imperial remnant. This Imperial would try to find a child of an unknown species for an unspecified purpose, coming into conflict with the Mandalorian Din Djarin. Gideon proudly wielded the blade from the wreck of his TIE, the child having escaped his grasp. How did Gideon gain the Darksaber? It can probably be explained in the Imperial subjugation of Mandalore, called the Great Purge. The saber was probably taken as spoils of war, along with an unknown quantity of Beskar, most likely taken from fallen Mandalorian warriors. It is fair to say that we haven't seen the last of Gideon, nor the Darksaber. So, in Season 2, it's not certain if either of the lightsabers will appear. However, with Ahsoka the White still not being officially part of an organised Jedi Order, her lightsabers will probably stay white, which will be a stark contrast to the black-bladed Darksaber of Gideon. Star Wars has always loved to symbolise the conflict between good and evil, and what better way than crossing the lightsabers with the darksaber? They may never meet, with Ahsoka never coming into conflict with Gideon and not even using her lightsabers extensively. Alternatively, with Din Djarin and the child being chased by the forces of Moff Gideon, seeing that his grunts cannot get anything done, Gideon will face the Mando himself, goading him with the darksaber and his possible role in the Night of 1,000 Tears. Ahsoka could be present to protect the Mando and child, crossing blades with Gideon herself. Like you, we're extremely excited for Season 2. What do you guys think of this speculation video of the lightsabers in The Mandalorian Season 2? I would love your feedback on what you think about our videos, so feel free to comment. If you like this video, please like and consider subscribing to the channel. See you all next time.